This is the miracle that has enabled us to transship our bodies and our minds and our words and our pictures and our ideas and our teaching and our learning around the planet ever faster and ever cheaper. It's brought a lot of bad stuff, like the stuff that I just described, but it's also brought a lot of good stuff. The interaction between these different components in early childhood development are seen as maintained and reinforced in the school context. And this leads to distinct gender patterns of behavior and skills with direct consequences for school performance and achievement. That's no longer the typical housing cycle for Australians. Young people generally live at home for much longer than they once did. They generally rent for longer and they're more likely to be saddled with a mortgage not just into their middle age but more often than not into their retirement as well. Researchers can monitor fishes on their computers in universities. The camera can detect surrounding environments and fish. This helps find out what they eat and what they don't eat. They can stop feeding them if necessary in some situation to save time and labor. That's not rocket science, it's not hard to work that out. But then what that means is if in working with language revival we continue to hold the authority, we actually haven't done anything towards undoing how languages are lost in the first place, so in a sense the languages are still lost if the authority is still lost. Humans used to utilize simple machines to understand themselves and improve well-being. Later, engineers developed more complicated machines to expand humans' life expectancy, so that we can have more time to create more advanced machines. For example, now we have ECG to study the different parts in our body and how they work, without going into the body. The variation of frog has been existing for many years, that some have more limbs while some have fewer limbs. The lecture also explains the reason for the gene mutation. Many people are worried that river those frogs live will be polluted by them and affect our health. Deliberate practice takes time, and people also need to find and solve problems and mistakes during it. There is an example of studying geometry to demonstrate how important deliberate practice is. Key words include solitary practice. The vessel we are now aboard is not merely the biggest of all time, it is also the only one left. The future of everything we have accomplished since our intelligence evolved will depend on the wisdom of our actions over the next few years. Like all creatures, humans have made their way in the world so far by trial and error. In September 1986, scientists put a tracker on a turtle's shell, and used satellites to track and locate the migration route of the turtle. They reach different localities in different time. The migration takes 3 months, from the South Florida to the north. Climate change has been a big thing for a while, and carbon dioxide has been its main cause. Scientists estimate that soot causes 25% of human-caused global warming. It's the second leading cause of Arctic warming after carbon dioxide. Let's not underestimate the impact of this tiny particle. The visual culture in science fiction involves drama, culture, technology, and most importantly, logical and visual effects. This was minor and subcultural until a big change occurred since the introduction of the movie Star Wars. The story of the movie is stupid and aggressive. Thermal energy is defined as the total of all kinetic energies within a given system. It is important to remember that heat is caused by flow of thermal energy due to differences in temperature. Evidence indicates the synthesis of vitamin D from sun exposure is regulated by a negative feedback loop that prevents toxicity, but because of uncertainty about the cancer risk from sunlight, no recommendations are issued by the Institute of Medicine, U.S. The personal factors include people's belief on certain things and their individual thinking about it, while the environmental factors include temperature, air pressure, and the others thinking about them. In conclusion, one's determinants are affected by both himself and the environment. When assessing the international conditions for national prosperity, Asian demand for our exports has helped Australia manage the global financial crisis better than most other developed economies. In fact, probably better than all other developed economies. In terms of the size of economy, the U.S. economy is more than the total amount of China, Japan, UK, and Germany. In terms of the industrial output, U.S. output is $2.8 trillion, but it only equals to the sum of China and Japan. Traditionally, teachers use desks, chairs, paper and pencil to teach children handwriting and reading from paper. With the technological development, the way of teaching has been radically changed. Teachers are using new technology in classrooms. The earthquake's focus is called epicenter, which is vertically beneath the interior of the Earth's crust, and the energy releases and transfers through epicenter. The faults are the fracture on the Earth's crust. The position of the epicenters can be identified by the faults maps, looking down from the center of the Earth. The stories are almost always in the form of one person lifting a car off of another. In each of these cases, some aspect of leverage or buoyancy probably played some role in reducing the magnitude of the feat to something more believable.